It's Halloween, guys, and that means everybody's getting ready to go trick-or-treating, and everybody's getting ready to eat all their candy in one night and get stomach aches. But that also means there's a lot of scary shit out there. Now last year for Halloween, I did a special on the Evil Dead games, and that wasn't really that scary, so this year I'm changing it up, and I'm doing something scary. I'm doing probably the most scariest video game series ever. I'm talking about the Fatal Frame games. I was around 13 or 14 when I discovered the first Fatal Frame game. That game scared the hell out of me. These games were the only ones I ever had to quit playing right in the middle of the game because my nerves were shot when I was playing this game. I'm gonna go through all the games in order from the time they were released. So let's start off with Fatal Frame 1. In Europe, this game was called Project Zero, and in Japan, just Zero. All these games were survival horror games, obviously. It was a time when games were really more survival horror than the jokes we call horror games these days. There are only a few exceptions to the rule these days, and that's Dead Space 1 and 2, and The Evil Within, and a few others on PC. The Fatal Frame games consisted of mostly you controlling someone and using a camera. That's right, just a camera to take on ghosts, performing exorcisms, and running into dark Shinto rituals. The games were obviously more Japan than anything else. Tecmo created the first Fatal Frame game on PS2 in 2001 in Japan. It was later released in the US and Europe in 2002. There was also an Xbox port that came a year later. It's also worth noting that the game was re-released on the PlayStation Store in April of 2013 for just a few bucks. And honestly, if you're gonna play it, that's probably the cheapest route to go. The first game had you controlling Miku Hinasaki. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not really versed in Japanese or the Japanese names, not really into that, so I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I don't mean to offend anybody if I'm not. And you were looking for your brother, Mafuyu. You control Mafuyu in the opening sequence of the game just for the introduction. Through the rest of the game, you actually control Miku. The game has 4 chapters that they like to call nights. You have an antique camera called the Camera Obscura that you use to take photographs of ghosts and you expel the spirits from the world. The camera relies on film, which, you guessed it, is ammunition for your camera. There are 4 types of film that are scattered throughout the game that you can get. Each one has different strengths to help you defeat the ghost faster and easier, so you can go run and cry in the corner in a shorter amount of time. The camera also has these special abilities that you can unlock through the whole game. These special abilities are called spirit points, which you gain through defeating ghosts. So it's pretty much a leveling system kind of deal here. The abilities that you actually earn are stuff like paralyzing powers and seeing powers. You know, just stuff to help you in the fights against the scary ass ghosts. Some ghosties even have special attack patterns, and this is when your abilities come the most handy. Through the game, you are exploring a dark and scary mansion. What is a scary game without a dark, decrepit old mansion that doesn't seem to have any lighting? Nothing, I tell you, nothing at all. So this is where your flashlight comes in handy. Yep, you get a good old flashlight. Did you think you were just gonna run around and wander and bumping into walls in the dark, just to hoping you don't fall down some damn stairs? No sir, not today, no broken legs. So you go through this mansion with your flashlight, encountering all these demented spirits that just want to do harm to you. Actually, I'm not sure what they're doing. I guess they're scaring you to death? Yeah, they're giving you a heart attack apparently. I don't know. I don't know if you actually die. You die, I guess. I don't know. Don't question me. Just don't question. No questions. Some spirits are not enemies though. Some of these spirits are just poor souls that were lost in the world, and they just kind of wander around. You can take pictures of these ghosts, and I assume that's the equivalent of setting them free. I'm not sure if that's what the game is going for, but that's just what I think. There are these save points throughout the game, and yes, you are definitely going to want to take breaks, so save points are definitely a needed thing. But I mean, what modern game on the PS2 didn't have a save system? I think it went without mentioning, but I just wanted to mention it to make sure. Just take note, when you're actually fighting a ghost, the save point will turn red and pretty much tell you that you are not saving right now. That's right folks, if you are in a battle with a ghost, you cannot save the game. You either have to run your ass away from that ghost. So if you're having a nervous breakdown and a crying fit and you're scared to death, just pause the game and walk away. I've did that sometimes. There's no shame in it. There's no shame in it, guys. So yes, once you defeat that ghost, you can finally save your game. But don't try to do it when you're fighting the ghost, because it will not work. So don't run into any scary ghosts and then nope the hell out, turning off your console, running away like the little girl that you are. Not me. I'm a manly man. I will punch those ghosts in the face with a 2x4. Please take note, there is no ghost brawling with 2x4s in the game. That's just my special copy. Fatal Frame the 2x4 edition. Disclaimer, there's actually no 2x4 edition. The story is simple really. Just like I said earlier on, you are Miku Hinasaki and it is October 1986. Hey look, the year I was born. Anyway, she goes to this Himuro mansion to find her older brother Mifuyu. Mifuyu has been missing for around 2 weeks and he was visiting this mansion. Now if I had a brother and he found his way to this scary ass mansion, I'm sorry bro, but I'd take one look at the place and say fuck it. I don't have a brother anymore. What brother, huh? Can't prove nothing. So Miku explores this mansion. She starts having some pretty weird stuff happen to her automatically. And for some reason, instead of running away, she stays. But I guess there wouldn't be much of a game if she just said hell no and just ran away. So she continues on farther and farther into this hellish mansion. She eventually learns more about the mansion and the spirits that kidnap her brother. The spirit kidnapped Mifuyu because essentially he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And all because he simply resembled his spirit's former lover. That's a new one, I guess. Still way better than Twilight. By the end of the game, you manage to rescue your brother and free some spirit. At this point, you will obviously get an ending. There is apparently more than one ending, but after all the ghost fighting and all the crying that I probably did throughout the experience, I wasn't looking for any more endings, sorry. There was 2 endings in the PS2 version, and there was a 3rd ending exclusively in the Xbox version. Only the first ending is canon though, so it don't really matter. Supposedly though, the first game was based on a true story surrounding Himuro Mansion in Japan. So this place is real. There's actually a Himuro Mansion. Well, wow. That's unexpected, I guess. The mansion is rumored to be a gruesome death site of a Japanese family and several associates. However, upon being asked, the producer of the video game series said that it was based on 2 old Japanese urban legends. He made no mention of any sort of connection to the Himuro Mansion murders. So who really knows? I guess if it comes straight from the producer's mouth, it must be true, right? You decide. It's also worth taking note that the game was not explicitly advertised as being true in Japan. The based on a true storyline came from it being released out of Japan. Take that as you will. Moving on. Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly. This is the one that I remember the most of the series. Fatal Frame 2 was once again developed by Tecmo, and it was released in 2003 on the PlayStation 2. There was also a director's cut version for the Xbox in 2004. The game is widely known for being the scariest video game ever created. I think this is why I remember the game so well, because I remember the nightmares. There was also a remake on the Wii, released in Japan, Europe, and Australia called Project Zero 2 Wii Edition. What? There's no love for the US? Anyway, the original PlayStation 2 version was re-released on the PSN store. Then it was taken down for emulation problems. Then it was later put back up in July of 2013. Fatal Frame 2 had some things that set it apart from the first game in the series. In this game you are Mio Amakura as she searches for the lost village for her twin sister Mayu. These games seem to have a sibling trend I see, Anyways, sometimes your twin is even with you when you explore the game. Shortly after the intro you'll find yourself with your handy dandy flashlight, which will ultimately just fuel your nightmares even more, making the environment clearer for you. The flashlight can be aimed in all directions, but it will not work in some areas. Great! Again, you'll have to defend with your camera, the camera obscura. And once again, it's the only weapon you have against the scary ass spirits throughout the game. You also have different type of films again, with different strengths. However, the stronger films actually reload slower, so you have to pick and choose what you really want to use in battle. You can also replenish your health with a special herbal medicine or sacred water. There is also an item called a stone mirror which will help revive you upon death only once. And again, you can upgrade your camera function much like before. The combat points you get are solely based on the difficulty of your shot that you take. So if you get a particularly difficult shot at a ghost, it will get you more points. There are these special shutter chance moments that you get while battling. It usually happens right before the spirit attacks you. If you take a picture at that moment in time, you will do more damage. If you upgrade your camera, you'll get more of a chance easier. This, however, is terrifying as hell because you have to watch the ghost just attack you and get closer and closer to your face. Then bam, right in the damn ghosty mouth with never mind, there's no 2x4. Only my game. So instead, with a flash of your trusty camera right to the damn face of the ghost. Outside of combat, you can capture pictures of fleeing ghosts. These are non-violent ghosts that are just kinda there. These are mostly just to get you more points and upgrade faster. You will also find various objects to help the scary-ass journey and solve many puzzles in order to advance the gameplay. The ghost will also provide some sort of backstory and hints for you as well. The game is set in a Minakami region of Japan, and it may also just be a fictional place perhaps. Through the game, of course, you learn more about the terrifying village and just why it's so damn terrifying, and you'll figure out why it's deemed the Lost Village. I think it more needs to be renamed the Scary-Ass Village of Ghosts That Make You Poop Your Pants. That seems to be the more suitable title, yeah. According to Makoto Shibata, many players were too scared to finish the first game. So in this one, it's still pretty damn scary, but they focus and shift the attention onto the storyline. They wanted to make an interesting story to keep you playing, but still be scared the hell out of enough to pause the game and take a break. It's a fine line. A very, very fine line. The developers ultimately wanted the player to overcome the scary stuff in the game to see more of the story till the very end. Now earlier on, I mentioned that there was an Xbox exclusive director's cut. This version of the game had a few differences standing out there. First off, you had a first-person camera mode which made the game even more terrifying. It had a survival mode, a new ending, enhanced graphics, and a great number of alternative costumes to unlock. So essentially, with this new terrifying first-person mode, you could essentially play the entire game in first person. I don't even want to fathom that, because the game is already pretty damn scary to begin with. To me, it really didn't add much though. I liked the third-person camera view a lot better though, because it let you see your surroundings better and let you see what was in the environment around you. It was nice to see a few things up close though. I did indeed have the Xbox version when it released, and I didn't really use the first-person mode that much. The remake for Wii had a lot of differences however. The map, the layouts, everything was updated to make the game work better and a new third-person camera angle. The graphics and the models have been improved and the costume designs were more emphasis on the back of you since that's what you're constantly going to be staring at. The cutscenes were all redone with a more updated CGI look as well. The game also contains these ghost hands, in which when you pick up an item, sometimes these ghost hands will appear and scare the hell out of you. And they can indeed do damage as well, so you had to pull back Mio's arm to evade the hands. So this gave a whole new mechanic to the game. As you were picking up items, you might just say, oh shit, there's a fucking hand out of nowhere. And it would indeed scare you, especially if you're playing alone. The game also has this brand new investigation mechanic to it. It allows you to see all the new locations and things that were not in the original. At least it's a good way to show off all the new stuff. I mean, if you're gonna remake it and update everything, you're gonna want to show it off. You're gonna want to show off your work, so I can understand this. There were also a lot of new objects and things that can be moved, opened, and peeped through now, giving a lot more emphasis to using the Wii remote. Each ghost in the remake has more attack patterns and more special abilities to them now. It gives you more of a challenge, and in turn, it doesn't feel like the same old game that you played before. It all has this very new, fresh feel to it. And really guys, this is how a remake should be. Keeping what made the original work and enhancing it, adding new things to complement the game as it was already. Ghosts now have this thing called a dark return that can sometimes happen at random. What it does is it restores their health and makes them more powerful, as a way for the ghost to pretty much say, bitch, I'm not done yet. It also grants them more special abilities, but just keep in mind it's random so it doesn't happen every single time. There are also several new areas to explore and access now. There's the Whisper Bridge, the atrium of Asaka House, a new hallway in the Kurosawa House, and the room on the top floor of the Kiru House, which could not be explored in the original game. The camera may seem similar in its external nature, but the controls are very different and the viewfinder is brand new. There is also this new lock-on function. After all, there are no reasons why the ghosties should be the only one to get upgrades. You also have this brand new upgrade system that implements this whole new way to upgrade your stuff and use new created lenses. You also have this brand new haunted house mode, where the player slowly walks around a set course in first-person view, and scary events randomly happen. You can search for dolls as ghosts chase you down, and you can also attempt to take pictures of the ghost and receive a ranking. Also, a second player can attempt to scare you by pressing buttons on the Wii Remote. These will cause random spooky events to happen. This mode also replaces the mission mode. This new mode sounds very unique and fun, and makes me want to get a Wii in this version of the game. It sounds kinda like a spooky and ghostly version of Pokemon Snap in a weird way. And let's face it, Pokemon Snap was just a whole bunch of fun. Also now, each time you defeat a ghost, several new line of dialogue will come from your controller, which sounds kinda creepy to me. There's also this kind of way a second player can play the game too. All they can really do though is control a second shot on the camera and deal double damage to the ghost, which isn't much, but they can help you along your journey. And I also must say, a second player entering the mix kinda makes the game a little less scary, a little less personal for you. The amount of healing items in the game has decreased, and the game used to have these optional fights, but now they're mandatory. So the game is a lot more challenging now. There are also some new cutscenes and newly added events to the game that explain unresolved occurrences in the original. Lastly, you also have these two new complete endings in the game, in addition to the Xbox one that was added. So overall, the Wii version sounds like the best way to go, but the cheapest route is obviously going to be the PS2 port. You won't have all the cool new stuff that the Wii version has, but I guess it really depends on the money you have to spend out of your pocket. So now guys, we're moving on to Fatal Frame 3. This game is known as Zero Shisai no Ko. I think I said that right, I hope I did. Which translates to Zero Voice of the Tattoo. This game was also developed and published by Tecmo for the PlayStation 2 in 2005. The Xbox did not get this game oddly enough. Take that, Xbox, you evil green colored X! So the gameplay is mostly the same. Take your camera, kill evil spirits. You get the gist of it. No need to really go into that again. The story is split up into chapters called hours, similar to nights from the first game. Except this time the chapters are split up into day and night sequences. Day sequences? In a Fatal Frame game? Sunlight. It does exist. Well, don't expect that much of it. Anyways, Rai Kawasawa has been mourning the death of her fiancé, Yu Isu, after a car accident took his life. About 2 months after that, Rai discovers an image in one of the photos that she had taken on an assignment. Shortly after, she begins having these reoccurring nightmares of an old Japanese manor during a heavy snowfall, where she is touched by a tattooed ghost. Oh god, we gotta report this to the authorities. Wait, never mind, it's just a dream, guys. Never mind, go back to what you're doing. It's just a dream. Anyways, Rai notices some sort of bruise on her arm, and with each dream, the mark spreads more and more. She keeps exploring the manor in these dreams, trying to uncover what the hell's going on. She begins to receive investigation notes from Kai Amakura, a close friend of Yu's, who writes his letter that he and his niece Mio both have similar symptoms. Did I happen to mention that the photography assistant has the same symptoms, and that the assistant is none other than Miku Hinasaki? That's right guys, Miku from the previous game. And the niece Mio, holy crap. So the bruise becomes a snake and holly tattoo, similar to the tattoo on the ghost that touched her. Rai learns, through uncovering diaries and research, that the dreams are caused by Rika Kuz, the last tattooed priestess tasked with the duty of containing others' emotional pain within the tattoos on her body. Tattoos can do that? I always thought they were just pretty. Anyways, Rika unintentionally caused the rift, which was formed of darkness, which destroyed the village where her childhood lover was murdered right in front of her. So now she is corrupted and haunts people with a strong attachment to their dead loved ones. Eventually, after haunting and touching someone for so long, the tattoo will spread so much on the cursed person that it'll completely make them disappear. So Rai, with her strong attachment to Yu, Miku to her strong attachment to Mafuyu, and Kai's strong attachment to Mio, mourning for her sister Mayu. All three are trapped in the manor and being haunted by this ghost. So this game has all the characters from the last games, all being haunted at the same time. It actually sounds pretty awesome. In a weird way, it ties it all together, but awesome nonetheless. I didn't really see that coming, truly didn't. I won't spoil it for anybody, but if you want to figure it out, you're gonna have to play the game yourself. You can get it on the PSN store now for I believe about 10 bucks. That's a very good price for the game, and I recommend trying it out to any horror game fans. Now we move on to Zero Tsukahami no Kamen, which translates to Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. This is known as Fatal Frame 4, and this is where it completely gets weird on the Fatal Frame series. Tecmo was publishing the games up to this point, but Nintendo decided it wanted a piece of that scary pie. And Nintendo gets what it wants. It decides it wants to co-own the LP. So they flash some moolah in front of some faces and bam! They own half the games. So after that, all the games only go to Nintendo consoles. Kinda sucks, but what can you do about it? It's a business out there. Not only did that happen, but Nintendo decided to throw another slap in the face of Fatal Frame gamers. And they didn't release the game in the States or Europe. Yep, this game's only available in Japan, so get ready to import if you really want to play it. This game was released on the Wii in 2008. You guessed it, it follows the same guidelines as the previous games. At least they stuck to what worked in the original formula. It's not all the same though. You still do have your camera to fight these ghosties, but now you have a spirit flashlight. It uses the moonlight to exorcise spirits. The player must use the Wii remote and the nunchuck accessory to aim the camera and the flashlight at the same time. It ultimately creates a more submersive experience. Again, in this game, not all spirits are hostile, and this time you can tell by the color they give off in the camera's filament. You use spirit crystals to upgrade your camera, blue upgrades basic functions, and red upgrades your lenses. There's also a shop where you can buy various healers and films so you can keep your stuff stocked. So on to the nitty gritty, the story of the game. There were 5 girls kidnapped by Yohebera, a suspected killer. The girls eventually were rescued by someone named Toshiro Kirishima, who was a detective who was pursuing Habera. All of the girls have lost their memories though, go figure. 10 years later, 2 of the girls, Marie Shinomiya and Tomo Nanamira, died mysteriously. The other 3 girls feared that they would be next. Since they were 17, they all decided to go back to the island where they lost their memories, so they could try to recover and learn the truth. Okay, so wait a minute, hold it up for a moment. 2 girls die mysteriously, and you want to go back to the place you were kidnapped so you could try to uncover it all. There's probably a reason why you lost your memories. You probably didn't want to remember getting kidnapped. I guess that's just me. The memory tends to block out horrible things from your past. Anyway, Tsuruka Minazuki, Masaki Aso, Madaka Tsukimori all decide to go back to the island. And Toshiro also returns to try to find Rika and her mother's request. It sounds like a very odd story, but who am I to judge? I've never made a video game, so I imagine you have to make the story somewhat weird. And it's a Japanese game, so there's that too. It's also worth noting that Tecmo did not develop this game this time around. Grasshopper did. But it seemed that Tecmo did help in a joint effort though. Official Nintendo magazine announced that the game would be released in 2009 in Europe. But then Nintendo announced later on that that statement was false. Nintendo decided not to localize the game. However, a team of developers did release a patch that will allow the game to be played on European and US Wiis with the English text and subtitles. There was also a Facebook campaign launched called 100,000 for Project Zero to be released worldwide. It was an obvious attempt to get the game released in the West. Well, it's 2014 and there's still no stateside game. Unfortunately, it feels like this is just a missed opportunity never to be realized. The 5th game in the series is called Zero... bear with me, Niragasu. I don't know guys, I cannot pronounce it. Niragarasu no Miku. So Niragarasu no Miku, which translates to the black-haired shrine maiden. It also is known as Fatal Frame 5, Oracle of the Sodden Raven. The game was developed on the Wii U and developed by Koei Tecmo. Once again, of course published by Nintendo. It was released September 27th of 2014, but only in Japan. There are a ton of people petitioning this game trying to get it worldwide. I don't blame them though. I love the Fatal Frame games. What can I say, they scared the hell out of my heart. Now even though Fatal Frame 5 is released officially in Japan, I couldn't find a whole lot of information on the game. Probably partly because it's still so new. It was only released last month. I did a ton of research and I turned up as much as I could. From what I've read, the concept of the game is of course using the camera and also the fear of getting wet this time around. The game takes place in a big environment which involves gameplay like mountains, lakes, graveyards, and it will feature some damp areas and scary figures that are similar to traditional Japanese stuff like ghost girls who appear completely drenched in water. Okay, so we got scary environments, check. Scary ass figures and ghosts, check. Ring girl, that's a 10-4, good buddy. The Wii U's gamepad will also have a camera feature that shows you things you normally can't see with your eyes. It will also be some sort of weapon that can be used while facing the enemies. Interesting. Very, very interesting. The game takes place in Hikamayama Mountain, also known as the Mountain of Death. How fitting. You use the gamepad as the camera obscura this time around. The story is told of 3 main characters that will each have their own story arc. First off is Yuri Kozukata, who works in an antique store. She eventually has to go look for the store's owner, Hisoka Kurosawa. Then you have Ren Hojo, finally a name I can pronounce. Ren struggles with being an author and is also quite peculiar. Rui, his assistant, teases him a lot about it. He goes to the mountain to do some research for his new book, after hearing there are rituals involving burial photos taken there. He has known Yuri for a very long time as well. Then there is Miyu Hinasaki. She's looking for her mother, Miku Hinasaki. Yes! The protagonist from the very first game. Her mom disappeared when she was 3 years old, and growing up without her mom made her very sad. That happens to most people. She somehow believes her mom is on the mountain. So things get very interesting with these main characters as you see their stories unfold. The Wii U's gamepad is utilized really well here. It makes use of its gyro sensor and allows you to act as a real-world analog for the camera to move around and capture ghosts in. During exploration, the gamepad is also useful by displaying your map for you. Like I said before, the game has a lot of emphasis on the fear of being wet. Well, this comes into play when you have this wetness gameplay mechanic. You have a wetness meter on the screen. The wetter the character gets, the stronger their spirit power and also their attacks of their camera will be. And I know you're telling yourself right now, hey Jensen, that doesn't sound very damn bad. Well, it is bad. Let me tell you why. You may be more powerful, but you're also going to encounter a crap load of more ghosts. You're going to have a lot of ghosts trying to attack you, and your defense is also going to be lowered while you get more wet. Getting attacked will also make your wetness meter go up even more. So the ghosts are going to make you very wet. I have absolutely no comment. There's also an item called a Purifying Flame, in which it lets you instantly get rid of your wetness. You also get less wet over time. Just like the previous games, the game is structured with chapters, but this time around it's comprised of different missions. You can take on missions at the store and then replay them as much as you want. Completing the required missions will move your story and next chapter along, and that's pretty much how you progress through the game. This doesn't sound like a lot of fun to me. And that's mainly because it sounds like it would take you out of the immersion of the game. I mean, if you're really gonna break up everything in the missions, then yeah, it's not gonna feel like it's all there to me. Maybe that's just me, but I've never liked games that are just broken up like that. The game also has a lot of different outfits, including some very skimpy, sexy outfits. You know, because sex sells. Scary, ghostly sex. The game may, just maybe, get localized. We're not sure yet, it's too early to tell. It just got released last month in Japan. With how 4 went, I'm not too sure if it'll ever see the light of day. We'll see. Now the games I talked about are all the console games that have been released for Fatal Frame series. There however have been spin-offs of the Fatal Frame series. I'm only going to touch base barely on these games because I just wanted to focus on the console ones, but I'm going to take mention to these ones at least. There's this spin-off game called Real, Another Edition, and it's a cellular-based spin-off of the Fatal Frame games. It was released only in Japan in October of 2004. The game made use of your cell phone camera as the camera obscura, and it required players to find ghosts and fight them. The game has more than 70 spirits that can be collected, including some from the very first game in the series. And then you have another game called Spirit Camera: The Cursed Memoir. Now this game was a Fatal Frame game for the Nintendo 3DS. The game was released in Japan on January 12th of 2012, and it had a North America release on April 13th of 2012. It's worth noting that the Fatal Frame name was not in the title at all. It was just simply called Spirit Camera: The Cursed Memoir. The game contains a mode called Project Zero, or Fatal Frame in America, just like the main series though. And the last game I know nothing about at all. It's called Fatal Frame: Shadow Priestess. Apparently this was released as manga by Samaru Amagi by DENA for their manga box app. So I think this is more manga than a game. Just thought I'd mention it because I wanted to pretty much cover everything. So I'm not sure how much these ones are worth checking out, but if you're a big fan of the horror series, then I guess it's worth checking out. At least looking into a little bit. So guys, this is it for this video. I spent a lot of hours making this video. It may only be a half hour long for you, but it was dozens and dozens of hours for me. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and I hope you guys have a happy Halloween. So thanks for watching, guys, I really appreciate it, and this has been a Halloween special for Jensen Games. Thanks for watching.